What's up, Flannelverse? We are here for the final NBA show before the All-Star break, and a couple weeks for me because we have the All-Star break, and then I will be going to Cancun immediately at the end of the All-Star break. Kind of bad timing on my part, but also not the worst timing because much needed break, getting a couple weeks off here. I'm excited, of course, to be joined for my final NBA show before the All-Star break by James McCool of Paydirt Analytics. We were just discussing before the show. First time we've ever done a show together, which is pretty crazy. Excited to have you on. James, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm recovering from an LA trip where I drank too much and was hungover for the first time in about a decade. So that was terrific. But I'm doing better now. Have some work to do and clean up to do before the All-Star break, and excited to go out on a high point.
What does it take to get you hungover? Like, do you need to get do you need to drink a ton to get hungover, or is it just, are you like two drinks and you're hungover the next day kind of guy?
So I drink wine like pretty much every night. I'm a glass of wine.
Okay.
I'm a wine guy. So my tolerance is okay. It's not what it was back in college where I'd take like 3 shots of Jaeger walking into the rugby house before I would even do anything else. But this night specifically, I think I drank maybe 40% of a bottle of tequila and then had a couple shots of Woodford Reserve on top of it. It's not my best. We were watching anime. Like it wasn't really like a party or anything.
Nice.
It was just like watching a TV show and drinking. But I actually blame my friend who let me have the 2 shots of Woodford Reserve after I drank all that tequila, because you don't mix black, brown, and clear. Like you can't do that. So I blame her. But I recovered pretty well. Got some Jamba Juice afterwards, which is about the best hangover here that I think you can have. And I'm still alive and kicking. And I had a glass of wine last night and didn't throw up. So I think I made it through.
I gotta say, I don't have like a great hangover cure. I was just reading somebody's post on X like earlier today where they were like, you just need to do this, this, and this. I wish I knew this when I was younger, and I read it and immediately forgot it. Thankfully, I'm at the stage of my life where like I don't really need it that much. Like usually when I'm drinking, I'm alternating between a drink and water. I think that's the biggest thing that like you didn't do when you were 21. Maybe you were smarter than I was, but I didn't drink a ton of water when I was out at frat houses or whatever, getting drunk in college. So don't really need it now, but good to know that you have some Jamba Juice. Seems like a good way to get rid of a hangover pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, not having a hangover in the first place is the best cure for a hangover.
That is true.
Drinking some water in between each drink, that's what, or coconut water. That's the best thing you can do because it's super hydrating. But just avoid the hangover in the first place. I don't understand. What I don't understand is how people can drink like that, have a hangover, and then be productive whatsoever the next day. I was laid out until like 2 p.m. I barely got my Super Bowl article done. And all that takes is just like, I had to type like 700 words. It wasn't even that hard. I was sitting on the floor in my friend's house. If I had to go like to an actual job, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, no, that's no fun. Good idea to take the morning off if you're going to be drinking the night before.
Yeah.
So you're still doing Mondays with McCool with Blender, right? Because whenever I see your name, like I almost wanted to introduce you. Oh, Thursday with McCool, because I'm just so used to hearing the Mondays with McCool from Blender. You guys still do that, no?
Blender's doing its own thing right now. So after
yes.
the NFL season and after the whole Rotogrinders thing happened, or is happening, I should say, not has happened. It's still going to be continuing to happen. He has started getting back on his own YouTube channel and kind of trying to have his own kind of content that is not necessarily centered around DFS. And really for him and I, like when we do Mondays with McCool, the big thing is reviewing the slate before.
Right.
Or during baseball season, it was reviewing some of the slate before, but then just mostly bullshitting for 45 minutes, which was great. But now that we don't have that sanction through Rotogrinders, he is doing his own thing a little bit more. I'm still going to do some content with him because I love him. He's great. And we've worked together for 3 years now and done a lot of different projects, Theory, DFS, both editions, and Mondays is cool for a long-standing show. Like, we're not going to drop that completely. But he is focusing on that and getting that back up now. And I am trying to be a better CEO with Paydirt. Like, I'm trying to wear that hat, which as a builder, I'm a builder, right? Like, I'm a back-end guy. I'm not a seller. I'm not a mouthpiece. I'm bad at it. I'm really bad at it. I'm really good at building things, really bad at selling things. Let me just tell you, being a CEO is tough. So I'm still trying to learn how to do that right now. So a little bit better for Blender and I to be taking a little bit of a break right now anyway.
Yeah. I did not realize that. I guess I normally just I see the link and I click on it, so I didn't even realize that you guys had stopped doing it. Just occurred to me, I was like, I feel like I haven't like seen one of those shows for a little while. Yeah, I've noticed that Blender has been doing his own thing a little bit more. Unfortunately for me, it's mostly sports betting, which just got a tweet just before we started, a tweet saying that sports betting did not get to the next level in Minnesota, which is a huge bummer for me. So sadly, still not particularly relevant for me. I still obviously always worthwhile to check in from time to time. But so we're going to start here on this show looking at the unabated tools, specifically looking, because I'm in Minnesota and because sadly can't sports bet here, going to be looking at the pick'em stuff. So that's it's PrizePicks, it's Underdog, it's DraftKings Pick6. So we're just going to start looking at what some of the best plays are across these different sites, and then we'll get into the DFS slate for DraftKings. We'll go position by position, and I'm going to pull up the unabated projections, pull them into the Rotogrinders LineupHQ, and we kind of go back and forth looking at like comparing the projections for Rotogrinders versus unabated. James, I don't know if you do DFS projections. No, do you do it for NBA?
Yeah, I have projections over at Paydirt. I have projections for all the major sports as well as all the major esports. So I have full DFS pick'em models and player props models as well. So I'm going to be reading off my sheet and comparing everything.
Yeah, that's perfect. We can compare and contrast what looks good different places. All right, I'm going to start here with unabated, and I'm just going to use unabated NBA projections fully. You can at unabated like factor in market-based projections. You can kind of weigh them, put in if you want to put in like 20% to market-based projections, that kind of thing. I'm just going to start using unabated projections by themselves, and I'm going to pull up Underdog, which I think is typically where they do the best. Do you find that with your stuff also, James? Is Underdog usually the one where you can find the biggest edges with your picks, or is it kind of different across different days?
This show isn't sponsored by PrizePicks, is it?
It is not.
Yeah, fuck PrizePicks, man. My stuff does better on Underdog. Everybody's does, because PrizePicks neuters their edge.
Okay.
For the most part, I tell anybody who's going to be putting together pick'em sheets to always go play on Underdog. I know a couple of guys that build projections over at Underdog. I know that when I build out scrapes, like I had to build out a whole scrape on their API over the last off season for NFL for a project over at Fantasy Life. I know that they show their odds, and I know that they show their payouts in their API feed, which is extremely valuable if you're building out something to measure edge.
Yep.
So PrizePicks does not. In fact, with PrizePicks, I went back and forth for the better part of 2 days with their customer service, asking them how on earth I can find what the payout is for X, Y, or Z. And they literally will not tell you. The reason for that is because they know if they tell you, you will stop playing at their site, especially if you're somebody who is good enough to ask those questions. So fuck PrizePicks. I certainly tell people to play on Underdog. It's just a better site to play on, more reputable. No, you should always know what your edge is. You should never play anywhere that hides your edge away from you, because it's very clear that they don't want you to see it.
Yeah. So that's what I've heard from other places. Just typically it's going to be Underdog is the biggest edge. I come from I loved the original Pick6 product at DraftKings, so I still find myself playing it from time to time. I have no idea. I don't have. I've just started using tools, so you can kind of see edge, but it's harder to compare your edge when there is dynamic payouts, at least in theory, because you're playing against, theoretically you're playing peer-to-peer game there. It's a lot less true now than it was obviously a year ago. How do you find Pick6 ranking in compared to PrizePicks and Underdog?
Current product is probably a little bit worse than Underdog. The initial product was legitimately like the highest edge that you could possibly find in the industry. It wasn't even close. Like, you could kick 35 to 40% ROI if you were playing if you were playing and maxing out your ROI, you could push 40, 45% ROI on that. The edge was absolutely insane for like 3 months. And then DraftKings was like, no, you shouldn't be able to have that much edge. They've made some recent changes that have been centered around, one of the big things is guaranteed payouts, which, while in theory is fine and good, and casual players like that a little bit more, it ruins the upside of being really, really good at what you're doing. And then on top of that, they also made it so their lines change now. through the day, which for those who didn't play on Pick6, they set their lines at 10 a.m. Eastern, and that was the line. Like that
when
was
it started. Yeah.
When they started for the first 3 months, that was it. That was what it is. So usually in sports betting and usually in pick'em, what you want to do is you want to get your stuff in early so that you can collect the CLV. With Pick6, it was the opposite. You wanted to wait until like 10 minutes before lock because there were so many lines that were just dead. They're free money. That's why the edge was so high. So there's still good edge. It's still a good product. Peer-to-peer is still always going to have more edge than going up against the house because the house makes the rules. I know a couple of people and a couple subscribers over at Paydirt who have had incredible success with Pick6, but it's certainly a less lucrative game now than it was when it started.
Yeah, I've had a ton of success at Pick6, and I've kind of continued even after they moved to dynamic lines. I've continued to do pretty well there, but I've kind of feel like I've gotten lucky a little bit since they switched to dynamic lines, and I've just kind of stopped playing, like largely played a lot less. I was really looking forward to NFL season, like during last year. I remember last year during NBA, I was like, man, NBA is so fun. NFL, I'm just gonna like slam Pick6, and then they just changed everything. Was such a huge bummer. But like for NBA, you used to find lines that it would be like, this has a 98% chance of hitting because it would be like you get a line on some backup and it'd be really low, and it's like, oh, the starter's out unexpectedly, suddenly the backup is in, he's the starter. It's like, this is going to hit every single time. It was just it was a printer a year ago, so it was definitely a pretty big bummer when they changed things there. Anyway, we'll work with the products that we have to deal with today. We got our first question from Sam Friedman asking, is where viable? He's talking about is in DFS. What's with his minutes? I think he's viable. It's possible that he gets the start. We'll talk about that more when we get to talking DFS, unless you want to weigh in at all right now, James.
I mean, I'm projected at 26 minutes and a median of a little under 5x. He's probably fine on a shorter slate like this. We'll talk about it a little bit later. The big problem actually with him is that there's a lot of centers that are really valuable. So it's hard to go there. Like we'll talk about the positional scarcity later, but the answer is if you have 150 lineups, maybe you have a couple, but I wouldn't play Messi.
Yep. What's up, Anthony? Good to see you. All right. Let's get into it. So you can see these lines are updating, and the top bet currently at Underdog, according to the Unabated tools. And of course, I should mention, you can get a discount at Unabated. There's a link in the description of this video, or you can use promo code Flannel. You might have to use promo code Flannel regardless, but if you want to get a discount at Unabated to check out these tools and to check out their DFS, they also have some great things at Unabated. They have conditional projections that they make available to you, so they, you can say Anthony Edwards is questionable right now. If you want to project for him being in versus being out, you can do that. I actually haven't looked at who they have right now, if Ant is one of them, but they kind of give you the option of deciding, I think this player is going to be in or this player is going to be out. You can say, yeah, I think this player is going to be in or out, and see how that affects their props. They also have they update you in their Discord whenever they update projections based on like a starting lineup that was different than expected, player being in or out, being ruled out. You can see how the projection changed. So some kind of cool stuff there. You can check that out. That is in the description of the video on YouTube. But getting into the pick'em stuff. So this is at Underdog. Kenrich Williams lower than 10.5 PRA is the top bet. There's a 17.8% edge on this Kenrich Williams bet. I'm going to put that in there. He's projected for 9.4 PRA. And you can see here the probability, and you can see the probabilities after you click a player in. The probability of Kenrich Williams hitting the under here is 63.79%. James, I know you've been pretty involved in the pick'em stuff, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on like, what is the edge that you need to see before you're willing to play a certain pick? And also, when is it like, what kind of edge do you need to see that you're going to be like, I'm going to slam this, I'm going to like up my volume because some of these picks are so good? Where do you kind of draw that line?
Yeah, it depends on the slate, really. Typically, so when we're putting together the picks packages over at Paydirt and putting together, I have a tool over there that lets you run all of the different projection or all the different prop types for every sport that you're looking at. So right now I'm running a full aggregate set so that I can kind of speak to this stuff. usually the very baseline is 10%. I want at least 10% edge on something.
Yeah.
I think that it's fine if you are a volume better, drop down to 5%, but just understand that you're likely going to be kind of messing with your ROI at that point. So 10%, I want at least 65% probability if I'm going to be hitting something. But that sometimes you don't have that, right? I mean, sometimes the best that you have is 63%. So you kind of got to take the good with the bad and understand that if you have lower probability, make sure that you're lowering your unit size a little bit. Make sure you lower your volume a little bit so that you're not, affecting your overall ROI more than you should be. Like if you usually would only put a quarter unit on something with 63% probability, then keep it there. Don't try to move it all the way up to get all your action down. That's just going to kill you in the long run. So that's kind of a longer way to answer that question, I think.
Yeah, great advice. And I think that's true in DFS also. Like you should really push your edges. If you feel like you have a great edge on a given slate, you should push it more. But it's harder to like plan for it with DFS because DFS, you don't always know when you're entering what your edge is going to be. Like sometimes things will come up later on, a player will be ruled out, and suddenly you feel like you have a massive edge. And it's kind of hard to know, like before a contest fills up, if you're going to have that edge or not. Whereas in Pick'em, like you can know at the time, like how much edge do I have exactly. So that is always good advice to just like play to the edge that you have essentially. Sounds like you have pretty, I mean, 65% is fairly high. I feel like I don't see 65% all that often. How often do you get, based on your projections, how often do you see a 65% plus edge?
So I usually will see when I'm building out these pick because the models over at Paydirt are a little bit different. I do not build towards market. I build, remember, I come from the DFS street. So when I built out the betting models, my focus is on upside. So a lot of my stuff takes a lot of influence from matchups, takes a lot of influence from upside. It kind of builds out the ceiling tails of the distribution rather than the floor tails. I don't care so much about floor. So
yep.
What that means is I'm trying to look more for laddering opportunities and a little bit more for overs. Now that said, I do get a lot of unders. Any good bettor is going to get a lot of unders, but I get them relatively frequently. On a short slate like this, I think we only had, like even in the betting streets, we only had 8 bets this morning, I think, that we could hit. My betting card usually doesn't exceed about 35 bets overall. So when I play Pick'em, it's even less than that.
Yeah.
My player pool is only usually, 7-8 guys at most. So Pick'ems are a little bit harder for me to get down good action on because of that. But we have decent edge on certain things. Like Kenrich Williams is not something that I'm on, but Isaiah Joe, for instance, I was in on a couple of his overs. As well as I remember Trey Murphy, we were able to hit a couple of his overs on some really good numbers as well. So just depends on the slate for the most part.
Yep.
14 game slate yesterday. We had you can pick from anyone yesterday. Today a little bit hard.
Kenrich Williams not showing up when I search him here. Wait, let me make sure that this is right. So I might have to do a little refresh. Yep. Sadly, it looks like this one may have been pulled. Oh, and it was, hang on. If I move it here, it's still showing up here. All right, I'm going to refresh real quick. I did. I left that open.
It's because Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley got ruled out, so they pulled down the OKC and Minnesota lines.
Oh, they did. I did not see that they had been ruled out. That is
Edwards is game time decision.
All right. I was working on the assumption, which doesn't really matter for anything, but I was kind of assuming that Conley was going to be out. I'm surprised that Rudy's out a little bit, but that is pretty interesting. We'll see how that affects projections. Klay Thompson ruled out. Kyrie Irving ruled out. Man, we're getting some news really early today, James. This is exciting. All right. Well, we'll get to the DFS stuff. Looks like not great edge right now that I'm finding here. Let's see. I'm going to pull in, see if it changes anything. If I do bring in like market-based stuff, if anything pops up. So I'll do here. I'm going to lock this at, let's do 50. No, I'm going to keep it 60-40 using unabated and market-based. See if anything looks better from this standpoint. No, we don't have any great cards right now. So the best, I guess the top options are both hires. So for people who just want to play for fun, you can do Jake LaRavia higher than 6.5. PRA is a fun one. Then you can throw in DeMar DeRozan higher than 3.5 assists. If you just want to play a little bit, you're not finding great edge here, but these are some of the top picks are hires, so it's at least fun. Higher than 3.5 rebounds for Quentin Post. Again, these are not even the top picks. You can get a little bit better edge by going to some lowers, but if you're just looking to have some fun, no issue. You could play those three, and those look like a reasonable way to play. Higher than 30 PRA for Malik Monk if you really want to fill up a card. But again, these are not the best edge. So I think I would probably just skip today because a lot of time you can find better edge. But if you're just looking to have some fun, I think that this is a card you could play. Is Jake LaRavia higher than 6.5 PRA, DeMar DeRozan higher than 3.5 assists, Quentin Post higher than 3.5 rebounds, and Malik Monk higher than 30 PRA is one that I would consider playing if you're just looking to have some fun. I'll look at PrizePicks, even though we've already discussed that it's just we're not going to find much that is great. We do have Jayshawn Tate here. Actually, currently PrizePicks looking like a little bit more edge than usual. Usually PrizePicks is kind of low on the totem pole here, but 5.5 points lower than 5.5 for Jayshawn Tate has 17.5% edge, higher than 11.5 points plus assists for Isaiah Hartenstein, 9.6% edge. Higher than 2.5 3-pointers for CJ McCollum, 8.5% edge. So it looks a little bit better here. I'm not going to play this one either. I'm just going to show it here. Are you seeing anything that is jumping out to you using your Paydirt stuff, James? I don't know if you have it open, but if you want to like compare, do you see a lot of the same players? I know that you said that you have a little bit of a different system. Maybe things look a little bit different, but are you seeing any of the same bets pop out to you?
Yeah, the Jayshawn Tate points is interesting. I have, when I just ran things, my top bet overall with 21% edge is the under on his 10.5 points, rebounds, assists.
Okay.
I have him at a mean outcome of 8.1. The trending under is 86%. So one of the things that I measure with this model is kind of like their trending performance based on the prop. Their last 5, last 10, last 20 games and where it's going. So 86% is really strong. 90% is when I'm like, let's lock that one in. So under on his PRA looks pretty good. The other one that I'm mostly in on is Chet Holmgren, which I don't think we can hit right now. I'm pretty sure those lines are still down, but the under on his points assists is another one that I was big on today. That was one of the first bets that I put on my card. So I have him implied for 12.2. The prop at the time is 16.5. So pretty good edge on that as well.
All right, what do we have? So you have points plus assists. They like the under, but they have it at not a huge edge here. So interesting. Okay. Nothing. I'm not going to pull up PrizePicks, but I actually think you could play this card if you wanted to. This would be a reasonable one. I'll put Lou Dort in there also. Brings the edge up to 62.6% on this card. That's Jayshawn Tate, lower than 5.5 points. Isaiah Hartenstein, higher than 11.5 points plus assists. CJ McCollum, higher than 2.5 3-pointers. Lou Dort, lower than 9 points. It looks like is a reasonable card. You could play at PrizePicks. I'll look at DraftKings real quickly, see if anything pops out. And you can see when you click over to a different site, they leave in the bets that are available both places, which is kind of nice. So you have Jayshawn Tate, Hartenstein, Dort, all available here also. Also, Jimmy Butler, lower than 11.5 rebounds plus assists. This is actually one that I think would be worth playing at Pick6. Yeah, actually Pick6 looks pretty good today, James. Are you seeing edge on Pick6 right now?
Yeah, I would see edge on Pick6. I think that, if you're used to the system that is going on over there, I think that you're usually going to be better off playing Pick6 than anything else. Even with the guaranteed payouts and peer-to-peer, like they tried to neuter it as much as they could, but peer-to-peer is the best player is just going to make money. So if you have good models, then you should be playing at Pick6. The Jimmy Butler one worries me a little bit just because of the circumstances around the Warriors. Like, I'm a model guy. I don't usually care that much about narrative. I don't really care that much about non-quantifiable stuff. But them landing at 3:30 in the morning and not getting any sleep, and having to play the second night of a back-to-back, like, that's hard. So I'm sure that we're going to see some shenanigans with them, especially because we just saw shenanigans from basically every other team in the league ruling out like everyone. Would not surprise me if, had 2 or 3 of the starters sit for the Warriors. It's gonna be Looney Tunes going into the All-Star break, I'm sure.
Well, we just got, actually, this probably needs to be updated because we just got Klay Thompson out. We just got Kyrie Irving out. I guess we don't have the Warriors. Sorry, those are Mavs. I think I saw Klay Thompson and immediately thought of yeah, you're right. We don't have Bam Adebayo out. So now Kel'el Ware is going to look better too. Just got the news. You can, that's me doing unabated, looking at they do get the news out there quicker than anybody else. So you'll get the update soon from Underdog and elsewhere. But yeah, we just got the news from Unabated that Bam Adebayo is going to be out. So to the question, is Ware viable? Yes, definitely. With Bam Adebayo out, Ware is going to be viable. All right. So I think these look pretty good at pick 6. I agree with you. We could leave out the Jimmy Butler, but regardless, this already looks pretty good. Looks like a pretty strong card here. I'm not going to pull it. I have issues with pick 6 on my computer. I usually just play on my app. So I'm not going to pull it up right now, but I think this is a pretty strong card to play. They don't give you the edge with pick 6 because you can't really know it because it is theoretically peer-to-peer, unfortunately. But some strong bets here at pick 6. But the other thing that I want to do here is, and maybe I'll wait a minute. And again, in the Discord, they let you know when they update things. I'm going to wait for Unabated to update their projections for DFS, and then I'm going to pull that into pull their projections into LineupHQ at Rotogrinders, and we can start doing the position by position breakdown. And James, of course, you can tell me if you're seeing anything different than what I'm seeing using Unabated and or using Rotogrinders. We can kind of compare, contrast all three if we want to.
Yeah, that'll be good. The slate already, like before all of this news broke, and I don't think that I have updated everything that we have gotten yet. I mean, Bam Adebayo obviously just broke, so I'm not going to have to update yet. But, initially we were looking at Jose Alvarado as massive chalk, and then Trey Murphy and Max Christie. With Irving out and Klay Thompson out, Max Christie is going to be like a 1,000,000% owned. Probably project for like 36 fantasy points or something. So I imagine that he's going to jump up all the way to the top of the GPP percentage list and the ownership lists and everything. It's just going to be one of those slates where you're just jamming in Dallas players and probably bringing back some Miami correlations. I'll see what the contest sims say. I'll see what the Pivot Finder says and all that kind of stuff. But just off the top of my head, that makes sense. And then the other main thing from a DFS perspective that I thought was interesting when I was going over and researching this slate is that power forward is really weak and even weaker without Nikola Jovic there. Or, without Bam Adebayo there. So now Nikola Jovic at 5,300 for Miami is likely going to be the other guy who gets a huge ownership jump here. And after him, it's pretty slim pickings. The next guy that you have is Olivier Maxence Prosper for Dallas. But mostly this slate is just built around point guards, shooting guards, and centers, and then power forward is pretty weak.
Interesting. All right. Well, I guess we're going to go position by position in a minute here. Again, I'm just waiting to update some things. James, I don't know if you have this same issue that I have. The OMG father says, "Holy Mother of God, Neil is doing NBA." It's hilarious to me that like people don't think of me as being an NBA guy. I've literally played over 150,000 NBA DFS lineups now across my lifetime. I've been playing since 2013, but I've never really been asked to do NBA content much. There was a brief period when I was at Stochastic for like a month and a half where I was doing a show every day, but for the most part, people like asked me to do NFL content, and I've just started doing NBA content this year. Do you have a sport that you think you're known for more than other sports, James?
Oh, baseball, 100%. 100%.
That was going to be my guess, but I feel like you do everything also.
I do everything. So I build out, for those who don't know me, I own PaydirtDFS.com, and I build out projections for NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, PGA, like everything basically except for NASCAR. Is that it? Yeah. Everything except for like NASCAR and MMA, and I'm building an MMA model right now. But my love is MLB. I think that MLB, from a pure DFS standpoint, is considerably better than most of the other major sports. MLB and NHL are my favorites by a long shot. And then, I think that NBA. I like NBA. I was just talking to Jeremy King about this today in the Discord. I like NBA as a sport and as a concept. I just do not have the time capacity to do it. You have to be able to dedicate your night to it. You have to be able to dedicate to win equity through late swap. Like, you have to be able to dedicate to a lot of research and a lot of conditionals. And, when I was younger and I did not have a wife and a 4-year-old child that is an insane person, like, I could play NBA DFS, but last year I tried and I lost a lot of money playing because I couldn't late swap effectively. So NBA, as much as I like it, I just can't play it this year. Maybe next year, but I just can't play it this year.
I don't have a 4-year-old child or a child of any age, which makes it a lot easier for me to play NBA. I still, like, during NFL season, I was like, I'm too busy for this. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I've gotten super into it, playing again the past couple of weeks, like playing every day, or maybe I missed a day or two, but yeah, it definitely feels good to be back in the NBA streets. But yeah, if you have anything else going on in the evenings, any responsibilities, it is tough. It's always been tough. Tonight though is kind of like an ideal night if you wanted to play, because there's only 1 hour between lock times. It's starts late, 8 p.m. Eastern start, and then the final lock is at 9. So it's a little bit better for people who have families or things going on than sometimes for NBA. All right, I'm going to check, see if they have. All right, Dallas projections updated for Kyrie and Clay out at Unabated. Not sure if they already updated for Conley and Gobert out, but I'm just going to take a shot and upload them, and I'll have to come back and do it again in a bit if they have not already updated. So here's how you can do it. You go to NBA props. If you're wanting to download the projection that Unabated, then you can go to instead of my custom projections, their premium projections are here. You click this little button. This is how you download the spreadsheet with their projections. Now I'm going to go in, and you do have to oops, I have to close my golf stuff. And I'm not going to put this up on the screen, but to upload things into LineupHQ, you have to have the headers correct. So I'm going to change the names. Hang on one second. I'm just going to do this off screen. Just have to change the headers to get from player to name, and then instead of DK points, just I think FPTS, I think is how I name it. I want to try this. By the way, getting trolled by Shit My Money on Twitter for, apparently he says we scheduled this to not have to go against him because he did a stream earlier today. Who would have thought that Shit My Money would do this? He like does like one stream a week. It's just kind of like random when he decides to do it. So come on, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, Adam he's a semi-professional troll. He's not super great at it, to be fair. I think Jeremy's a way better troll. But Adam, he puts in the work. He grinds at it, and you just gotta respect that.
He tries really hard. He tries really hard to be a good troll.
He's not the best at it, but man, he gets those Clancy bucks for sure. He puts in the grind.
Yeah. Got to appreciate the effort.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
All right, so you can see here, I'm just checking the names, making sure everything lines up here. Okay, looks like we are probably good. I can upload these. That was easy today. Getting the hang of it.
Yeah, there you go.
So now we have unabated projections in there also, and again, we'll see if they don't do ownership. Okay. So let's see here. Do we have Conley out? Yeah, they do have Conley out. Okay, good. All right. So we can go position by position here, James. I like to look at, so I'll start by point guard. And I like to start by looking at, and I got to pull this over here. Point per dollar, like kind of just like who are the best point per dollar at each position. Looks like it is Spencer Dinwiddie and Jose Alvarado, actually pretty close in terms of their point per dollar numbers here. Dinwiddie presumably projected to start for Dallas, play 33 minutes. He's only 5,000 projected for 30 fantasy points, so he looks pretty great. Jose Alvarado, I mean, they look almost identical. Jose Alvarado also projected to start here, project for just 28 minutes, but also for 30 fantasy points at 5,000. The pretty clear top options currently at point guard. Dinwiddie obviously is his projected ownership going to come up quite a bit from 3%. Jose Alvarado already being projected for 39%. Do you have any strong leans on Dinwiddie versus Alvarado? Is this chalk you think that you would just lean into, James?
Well, the hard part here is that, like I said before, this slate is kind of jam-packed with point guards and shooting guards.
Yeah.
So there's not really much of scarcity for me to worry about. I think you can put a lot of things in. Like if you're not paying down for Dinwiddie or Alvarado, paying down at 5K is not a lot, but you also have to worry about James Harden, who's by far the best pay up guard on the slate. And then you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's the most expensive player on the slate, I'm pretty sure. You have a lot of options at guard. So it makes me a little bit less inclined to be like, yeah, I absolutely need to jam these guys in. But if you're playing single entry or if you're playing 3-max, I think that starting with one of Dinwiddie or Jose Alvarado is going to make sense. I just checked my projections. It has not gone through yet on Spencer Dinwiddie, but I already had him projected for 25 minutes and 25 fantasy points. So he was already projected relatively well, all things considered. Yeah. That's going to jump up a lot. I think that ownership is likely it'll come up to like 20-ish% or something. But I still think that people are going to look at Jose Alvarado as the one that they would prefer to have because the game environment is better. I think that people will do that. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just jam in Dinwiddie and Jose Alvarado. I'm not sure. But I do think that people are going to want to pay up at point guard as well. So I'm not sure where the ownership is going to go, but I think in SE, starting with one of them is right. And you probably just flip a coin. They're going to project about the same, have similar ranges of outcomes. Flip a coin between.
Yeah, both look great. I would imagine that the field is going to get to a good amount of both. But yeah, you're probably right. Alvarado probably is the one that retains the most ownership of the two of them. I'm surprised nobody from Minnesota is getting a big bump. I guess Conley's been out, so I guess that makes sense. Nickeil Alexander-Walker already priced up. He's probably going to get the start again for Conley. So I guess it makes sense we don't have anybody really jumping off the page for Minnesota. Maybe we can find a nice low-owned dart throw in somebody like Dillingham or something. We'll talk about them as we move down the list here. Chris Dunn, 3,700 projected for 24 minutes. Jordan Clarkson out for the Jazz. Wait, Chris Dunn, sorry, he's on the Lakers. Do we have who's out for the Lakers? I can't think of anybody. Maybe I guess he started yesterday, right? So projected for 24 minutes. Oh damn, he put up 37 I did not even realize he put up 37 fantasy points yesterday. And I played a lot yesterday. Did not even notice this. In 20 minutes, put up 37 fantasy points. Now projected for 24 today.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the under on 37 fantasy points again, but
yeah,
he's gonna project fine. Have him projected for about 23 minutes and projected for a median of around 20.54. I think he's fine, but again, he's a point guard, and
why?
We have a bunch of guards, right? So it kind of comes down to you're going to be able to find a guard wherever you need in the salary ranges. If you need a punt, you'll find Chris Dunn. If you need a mid-range, you can have Dinwiddie or Alvarado. If you need an expensive person, you can find Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Chris Harden. If you need mid-range, you can have Malik Monk, who projects super well. Like, you have guards everywhere. So I don't think that you should be putting too much priority on, I have to have one of these guys outside of cash games, right? Like in cash games, you should start with Jose Alvarado because he's going to be the highest owned.
Probably both. I would assume you want both Jose Alvarado and Dinwiddie in cash games. I guess I haven't looked at like the cash lineup yet, but I would assume you want both of them.
Yeah, you probably do because there are so many guards that you're probably gonna have 3 guards in your cash lineup would be my guess.
Mhm.
If not, you're just going to start with Dinwiddie Alvarado. But there's going to be a lot of people that also go Chris Dunn because he's cheap, right? So I just don't think point guard is just not a priority position today. So I really do think, we're looking at 6, 7 options that are all usable here. I don't think that I have too big of an opinion until my model's updated, and then I will have a better opinion. But
Okay.
as of now, I think it's pretty much coin flips.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the. So I think those are the two like best point per dollar options pretty clearly. I'm gonna sort by fantasy points now and just kind of look at some of the top options. I mean, anytime I can get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 2% ownership, that's pretty appealing to me. Would you agree with that, James?
Yeah, man. I saw this ownership projection earlier on Rotogrinders. It was like 0.67%. It's like that's got to be an error. And then it updated. It was 1.6%. Like, all right, cool. Nobody wants to play like an MVP leader for no reason on like a 5-game slate. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty attractive, and it's not like it's super hard to fit him either. So I think it's a great play.
And Minnesota, great defense, obviously, but Rudy Gobert is out today. Like that's a big part of their defense. So should get a lot easier from that standpoint. Yeah, Shai is priority spend up today. I think if he's going to be this low owned in GPPs. James Harden looks great. We have no Kawhi. That's the big piece that is out for the Clippers. So James Harden at 9,200 against Utah looks great here. Obviously, he's getting the ownership. Steph Curry, projected for 8.5% ownership. That seems fine to me. How do you feel about Amin Thompson? He's been like pretty damn good recently. He's 8,600 projected to play 38 minutes. That wouldn't be that shocking. I mean, do you? Okay, let me frame it differently. Do you have any different expectations because this is the final day before the All-Star break? Do you have any different thoughts on like which teams are going to just let their guys play 40 minutes? Like, I think it's more likely that some teams are just like, yep, just like run the starters out there for 40 minutes because it is the final day before a long break.
Yeah, the young guys I think will go out there and really put up some minutes. It wouldn't surprise me. I have Amin Thompson projected for 35.55. I could see him getting up to 38. I don't think that would be insane. He has been really good. With a projection at 35, I saw him project for 41, a median of right there. So my only concern is like it's a double-edged sword. I think the volatility is there of minutes upside, but it's also there of minutes downside. If Golden State doesn't keep up because they're exhausted and their entire team is old, and they're playing against Houston, who I'm pretty sure has the youngest roster in the league. If Houston is up by 25, they're going to be like, here you go, take your break early and not send those guys back out there. So if it's close, then I think that they let the young guys just go out there and beat up on the old guys for a little while. So I think it's probably double-ended there. That represents a lot of opportunity to leverage what's going on with the minutes projections. And if there's somebody who's a high fantasy points per minute producer, I think you can go out there and try to utilize them and hope that their minutes are up a little bit. But for the most part, I would just say the range of outcomes is more volatile on the day before break or the day before, like, the end of the season. Think like week 18 NFL. It's just vibes and just hot hands everywhere.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I just kind of want to like see if there's anybody else that stands out. Is there anybody that stands out to you that we have not? Like we've kind of looked at the top point per dollar, which they're two that are head and shoulders above the rest in Jose Alvarado and Spencer Dinwiddie. And then now these are the top projected. Is there anybody else that's standing out to you as like you think they're a great play when you look at ownership, where you think projections are wrong? Anybody else standing out to you?
I think the CJ McCollum is a really good play. I don't think that I mean, he's projected for 15% ownership. I think he probably comes in around there. But like I said, that game environment is really, really good. And I think that especially on a smaller slate like this, focusing on game environments is really smart. Focusing on correlation. If you're playing Jose Alvarado, you could do way worse than bringing it back with CJ McCollum from the other side. I know that there's a couple other like Sacramento or New Orleans players that you could get into on the slate. So that would be my lean. I think that he's a really, really good play. Malik Monk, I think, is good. He's fine, 7.7K. He has really good assist potential, and the Pelicans are, I think, the worst defense on this slate. But I can go consult my matchup sheet here. Give me 5 seconds before I.
Yeah.
Because I run a sheet called defensive efficiency matchups over at Paydirt, which by the way is free to use if you want to go use it. But it shows you the percentage boosts over against average for each player position, right? So
nice.
Right now I have Sacramento. The best possible fantasy points per minute boost on the slate is centers against New Orleans, which is a 23% boost. But like of the top 5 best positions on the slate to be boosted, it's Sacramento centers, Sacramento small forwards, and Sacramento shooting guards. So, New Orleans is just a spot to attack on this slate. And then the 6th best is power forwards against the Pelicans. So really good spot. That's just the game environment to focus on for sure. So ignoring Malik Monk here, I think would be a mistake as well. He's projected for 21% ownership, and I think that's probably closer to efficient. But yeah, he's a really good play too.
Yep, I like that call also, and I use the NBA advanced stats page often also, and it lines up exactly what you're saying. I pulled up over the past 10 days. Man, the defensive rating for the Pelicans just atrocious here. So everything and the pace looks good. Yeah, everything looks great.
I just DM'd you a link to that defense efficiency matchup so that you can see that as well. Yeah, Jeremy King loves this sheet as well. So if you trust him as an NBA DFS player, in fact, I built this sheet because he wouldn't stop bothering me about it. Like this, and there's another sheet on the site with trending fantasy points per minute. I use both of those quite a bit, but this one I think is probably what I'm known most for NBA.
And this is a free page. Yeah, I can throw that into chat for anybody who is interested in checking that out. I'll put it in my my YouTube chat here. All right, so let me show me what I'm looking at here real quick.
Yeah, so it's automatically sorted by fantasy points per minute boost for the slate matchups. So as you can see, Sacramento against New Orleans against the Pelicans. This measured over the last 10 games. So this is a shorter sample model. A lot of the models that I build are shorter samples. But the points boost is 23%, the rebounds boost is 13%, assist boost 37%. Like we get really, really good boosts on the core stats here. And then we also have a boost to blocks of 33% for centers against New Orleans. And if you scroll over to the right a little bit or maximize out this table, you can see the team fantasy points per minute boost and the position that is being applied to, and the fantasy points per minute for the position. So if you're in a crunch and you're just like, what position has the best fantasy points per minute? Like, there you go. That's what you could use. So
that's great.
Pretty cool little model.
I can't maximize it in a way that people can see it, but people can go check that out, and you can maximize it on your own. Since I'm sharing my window.
Yes, you can. Hover over it, over the top right. See that expansion box? There you go.
Did that work? Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought it was going to be a pop out, which then wouldn't show up as part of the window. Yeah, that's cool.
Nope, just expand it. There you go.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, that's very cool to see. Well, we've got 39 minutes to lock, and I have built 0 lineups, so I'm going to continue on very, very quickly here. Just want to point out Bruce Brown. I think there is some volatility in the minutes there. He just joined the Pelicans, only projected for 23 minutes, but he's 4,400. I think that we could give him a little bit of a boost. I think he played more than that last night. Yeah, he played 26 minutes last night. Didn't do very much, but I think that he is a pretty strong play tonight. Also, thought there was somebody else I wanted to. I think Podzemski looks okay. Projected for 28 minutes. I guess he's 5,700. Isaiah Collier looks okay at 6,200. Doesn't really stand out because he's getting some ownership. Keontae George at 12% looks okay to me. And I guess nobody else is really standing out as like huge values. But I think 10% Bruce Brown. I think I'll be overweight to that.
Yeah, you can play so many point guards on the slate and shooting guards. Honestly, most of these guys are combo guards, so you have your pickings here.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to points per dollar again at shooting guard. Spencer Dinwiddie also shooting guard eligible, and then we have Max Christie. He's 5,200, so the price tag has come up a bit, but he looks good here. Projected for 36 minutes and 31 fantasy points at 5,200. Filling both shooting guard and small forward. So Max Christie looks pretty strong tonight. You again have Chris Dunn, and then 8,200 Trey Murphy, actually the fourth best value here at shooting guard. Again, Spencer Dinwiddie. Maybe I need to reset the. Let's see, because his ownership is definitely going to come up. Hang on. Give me a second here to try to they use shot quality. Do they have a different? Nope, they haven't updated either. I have to imagine he's going to come in a lot more than 3% owned.
Yeah, I'm seeing 48% on him right now.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what I need to do to update that. I'm going to reload the page real quick.
Interestingly, I'm seeing 48% for him and 28% for Jose Alvarado, even though, all things considered, they're the same play.
Yeah.
Basically, Max Christie is projected for like 55, Najee Marshall 50, Spencer Dinwiddie 48, Kessler Edwards 33. People are just going to jam Dallas.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a mistake on this slate, to be honest with you. I like that there are good values on this slate, I think, especially from Dallas. But I mean, the game environments that you should be focusing on are probably not that. Like I always, how do you feel about when teams play all their backups? Do you think that is typically a spot where you should be putting a lot of emphasis? Or do you think that it ends up being something where there's so much uncertainty and so many unknowns that people don't account for it enough and they end up over-owned?
I think it really depends on like the slate and like how many players they have available. So like if a team only has 8 players available, obviously that's a different situation than if they have 10. Because if they have 8, and especially and also the price tags is a huge thing. So if it's like you have 8 players available and everybody's like 4,000 or less, which you actually see from time to time that pops up in NBA DFS, I think that's good chalk. Like you should just spread it out. I agree with you that like people are overly confident in which players are the best from those teams. Like a lot of the time there'll be like 4 of those players on that team are major chalk and the rest of the team gets completely overlooked. But I think that there are often scenarios where it's like somebody on this team is going to put up, like there are going to be 2 or 3 great players from this team when the prices are right and the team is condensed enough. I think you do have some of those scenarios. So I guess ultimately, like I don't know that I have an answer that like fits every slate. I really think it is slate dependent. I would say you probably don't want to play 4 players from the Mavs in the same lineup. What would be my answer on this particular slate? Like I think that it makes sense to like mix and match some of these Mavs guys, but I wouldn't try to have like your entire lineup filled up with Mavs guys would be how I would approach it. Or what is your stance here? Like exactly when you say you think that they're bad plays, do you just mean like you'd probably take an underweight approach to most of these guys, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's always about over and underweight. I think so. One, I always make a rule that I won't play more than 3 players from any team. It's just in general, you're not going to find very many instances. I think that I can remember 2 times in the last 7 years of playing NBA DFS where I was like, I literally cannot get away from playing 4 or more of these guys. And one of them was that Golden State Warriors slate where they ruled out like their entire starting 5, and you ended up having it was an Alec Burks slate, and he was like 3,200 or something. You literally could not get away from playing like 4 of them. There were only 8 of them available, and they play the short rotations. So that's probably the only instance in my mind that I can think of where I would play 4 or more. But in general, like I'm looking at the ownerships here, and it's like if people are going to be putting this much focus, and it's not like these guys are free, right? I mean, Walker Kessler is cheap at 3,800, but Max Christie's 5,200, Najee Marshall 5,500, Spencer Dinwiddie 5,000, Nikola Jovic 5,300. I mean, these are not basement price guys. So to see them on a 5-game slate, all kind of being in that 45 to 55 to 60% range, there's probably other mid-range guys that I can utilize. Maybe I have to get off Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 4% ownership or whatever. But there's probably other guys that I can utilize that I think are a little bit better. And at the very least, if everybody is going to be playing a whole lot of those guys, I need to be very different with the way that I build around them. because there's going to be so many lineups that start with Christie, Jovic, who are the other guys? Dinwiddie, Marshall, and Khalil Ware. Like there's going to be so many lineups that start with those guys that if you end up just spending your max salary and not caring about the relative value that you gain from the other spots that you build, you built a terrible lineup for a large field GPP.
Right.
So I just think you have to be careful, and I think usually they get overowned. On this slate, maybe it's effective ownership. We'll see. I'm going to run contest sims after this set of models is done, but usually I think that they get a bit overvalued, and especially clumping 3 or more players together.
Yeah, I think that is a good note, and I agree with you. This is a slate where it's like they're all kind of priced up, where it's going to be hard for all of them to hit. I think having just a rule of max 3 is generally just a good idea on most slates. I agree with you. Like occasionally I'll change it to 4 for some teams, but on a 5-game slate, usually 3 is enough for any given team. All right, so getting back to just shooting guards. Anybody, we already talked about Malik Monk. I think Trey Murphy looks great here at 8,200, or looks pretty strong. He's getting 30% ownership, so I shouldn't say it looks great. He's getting appropriate ownership, I would say. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. We already talked about McCollum. Zach LaVine now with Sacramento, getting 14% ownership looks okay. Project for 35 minutes. Ant Edwards, I mean, how do you play? So Ant Edwards, it sounds like he's a true game time decision. If they have not ruled him out, it's going to be a tough matchup regardless for Minnesota, but value is going to open up from the Timberwolves if Ant is ultimately ruled out. Are you doing anything? Do you think you would do anything on this slate to hold off a little bit from the first couple games so you can play more from the later games? I mean, we only have 2 at lock, I guess, and it's only half an hour, so maybe not. But are you doing anything for like late swap optionality after the initial lock?
Yeah, as a general rule, I always try to cut off the first 2 games anyway, but on this slate, no. I just think that Sacramento New Orleans game environment is too valuable. And I'm not in love with Miami Dallas game environment. I think that OKC Minnesota, a really big annoyance that I have this year is the teams just do not want to play OKC. Like they will rest as many players as they can up against the Thunder, and it's like, okay, you guys can do that, I guess, but that sucks for a product. So I'm inclined to think they said Anthony Edwards. I have no idea why they didn't already rule him out. Like it's the day before the All-Star break, and you're up against OKC, who everybody sits against anyway. Like, why would you have your young superstar go out there and get beat up by Lou Dort for 20 minutes and then just sit on the bench? Yeah. So I think they probably sit. Usually, yes, as a rule of thumb, I would prefer to cut off the first 2 games, but not on this slate.
Yeah, I think on like yesterday's slate, maybe you could have like there are certain slates where that is, but yeah, on a 5-game slate, cutting off 2 games, especially when one of them is really appealing. The other one, not a bad game either, has a really close spread. Tough to do it on this slate. So I think in agreement with you there. All right, let's see. Any other shooting guards standing out to you as plays that you really like here?
Jesus, Max. So I just refreshed Max Christie. I have project for 67% ownership. It's hilarious. Let's see. Looking at GPP percentages here. Trey Murphy is my favorite. We already talked about him though. I like Zach LaVine. Fine with that. We didn't talk about Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green is a pretty decent play here.
Yep, 7,200.
I have him projected for 38 for a median of 38.55, and that's quite a bit over 5x. Check for 33 minutes, so I think that he's fine. But for the most part, again, there's CJ McCollum. 7,900, I think, is a really, really good price for CJ McCollum in this matchup.
Yep, agreed. All right. I'm just gonna scroll real quick, see if anybody else stands out. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if Ant sits, will become pretty interesting, I think. Just will have a little bit more usage. He's already projected to start with no Mike Conley, but he would look a little bit better there. Shannon, a fine value, I'd say. If Ant is out, he'll look better. Jalen Clark, actually pretty interesting to me, just because I think even with Ant in, he could see a spike in minutes, but especially if Ant is out, he would be somebody that I would try to get more of. We saw he got 32 minutes against Portland. Not the best fantasy producer, as you can see here, but I don't know. There are paths there, I think, for Jalen Clark. Maybe that's just me being a Wolves homer, though. Maybe I just watched him and I really like his game, so I want to play him in DFS. So maybe he's not as good of a play as I want him to be there.
That's how I feel. That's how I felt watching Christian Braun last year for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Man, I think Christian Braun is awesome. It's just like, well, he's not really awesome. But I saw him play live, so he's pretty cool.
Well, suddenly he is awesome. So apparently you were just early on Christian Braun.
Oh, that's the story of my goddamn life. I'm just always early on these fucking players. But,
yeah. Moses Moody confirmed starting for the Warriors, which I think it was being projected already. We just got the Rockets starting lineup. Also, it is Almond Thompson, Jalen Green, Holiday, Brooks, Şengün. Wait, which Holiday do they have? I'm blanking on. All right, we're gonna move to small forwards, but I'm blanking on Aaron Holiday starting for the. That's new, right?
What?
That's got to be. Is that a change, Aaron Holiday for the Rockets?
That's
got to be a change.
Weird, I think. Feels weird. Maybe we're just old. I don't know. But whatever.
Yeah, I just okay. All right, I'm going to sort small forward by point per dollar here. Oh, we're already sorted. Okay, Kessler Edwards. Man, we do not have great. Which I think you already alluded to this. Forwards in general, we don't have the best options. Kessler Edwards is 3,800. I guess he's projected for 24 fantasy points, so that's not too bad. We've got Max Christie again there. Dante Exum becomes viable again with several players out for Dallas. But he's getting, I guess 14% ownership, not the worst. A lot of Dallas guys at the top here. So again, speaking of not wanting to play all the Dallas guys, I mean, we have the top 4 values at small forward are all Dallas players. Let's see, what else looks good at small forward? Again, we have Almond Thompson is small forward eligible. He looks pretty good to me. DeMar DeRozan, just 7,000. He'll chuck it, kind of like DeMar DeRozan. How do you feel about Jaden McDaniels? Like, he should see more usage, I would think, tonight. Should see big minutes with no Rudy Gobert, potentially more rebounds, I would think, for Jaden McDaniels. He could start at the 4 potentially. I don't know. I think he's sort of he is 6,500, so he's already kind of priced at his peak.
Yeah, this matchup just sucks, man. It
does. Yeah, it's true.
Like, even when Rudy Gobert was in, I wanted to take all of his unders because this team just doesn't give up rebounds. They're so good on defense. I do like DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan is probably a fine play. I just reran contest sims, and again, Trey Murphy's showing up, Max Christie is showing up, Kessler Edwards, Zach LaVine shows up. Zach LaVine is fine. I think there's some good edge on him. But for the most part, like this spot is where you just take a Dallas player and you just say, fine, whatever. I'm just going to play a Dallas player here and surround that with other pieces. There's like nothing to play at small forward and power forward, so that's probably where you end up just needing to go with Dallas players. I am saying LaVine. For those who have not watched me, I do not pronounce names correctly. It's a weakness. I accept it. It's a vice like drinking coffee to me, and I will live my life the way I need to live my life. All right? It's important to me. Just wait till baseball season. I can't pronounce anyone's name on a baseball team at all. It's awesome.
Jesse, I was doing the Neil way of correcting him, which is repeating the name correctly. That's how I correct people. As I just say the name correctly and hope that they will adjust. No, I don't think I've actually said the name. But yeah, it is Zach LaVine. As a Timberwolves fan, he came up with the Wolves. He won the slam dunk contest with the Wolves. Special place in my heart for Zach LaVine. But I will allow you to mispronounce. I mispronounce names all the time too. We just had Gerard Butler yesterday, and I pronounced Jared Butler for like half of the show that I was on before I got correct. And I was like, all right, fine, Gerard Butler. I didn't even realize it's spelled like Jared, but yeah, I think that's a reasonable mispronunciation, especially with Adam Levine being so famous.
Yeah, and man, when it comes to things like this, and you're like, oh well, I was pronouncing his name correctly so that you would hear me, brother. I'm autistic. I don't pick up on social cues, so I never would have caught that anyway.
I mean, I didn't even actually do it. I was just making a joke, but yeah. Okay, Small forwards. I don't know. I'm trying.
To play a Dallas player. That's
You do just play. You think you just play Dallas?
Yeah.
Naw is available, small forward. I think he's pretty interesting. I think that there's volatility in Naw just because he can just get more stocks in a given game. He can get a little bit hot, so I kind of like him if he's actually going to be super low owned. I would guess he's actually going to come in higher ownership than this with some of the news we've gotten. All right. Yeah, I think we've covered it well enough. No other like huge priorities that we haven't touched on.
No.
I think Najee Marshall looks really good. To be clear, Najee Marshall looks really good at 5,500. But yeah, like you said, these top 4 Dallas guys look like the best at the position. We'll move on to power forward, and we're sorted here again by the top point per dollar options. It's 3 of the top 4 are Dallas players. Kessler Edwards, Olivier Prosper is 4,800, projected to play 33 minutes, 30 fantasy points. Looks really strong. He's only power forward eligible, so he'll probably get into a lot of lineups as the power forward option. Nikola Jovic projects well for Miami, projected for 32 minutes and 33.5 fantasy points at 5,300. Najee Marshall again. Zach Collins looks like a pretty strong play at power forward, projected for 32 minutes, 37 fantasy points. Naz Reid, like, I really wish the Timberwolves had a better matchup here so I could just jam all of the Wolves into my lineups. Because Naz Reid, with no Rudy Gobert, you'd think just going to get more rebounds here. He's been crushing it in general, but tough matchup. 35 minutes, 36.5 fantasy points. Do you have any thoughts on these top point per dollar plays?
Yeah, Naz Reid, I think, is a really good play. When I look at the contest sims, I have him projected for 13% ownership, and he shows up in the winning lineups 33% of the time. So 20% difference there. That's really, really nice. It's fourth best play on this slate, behind Alvarado, who lost a whole bunch of ownership. Alvarado has kind of been the best play on the slate for most of the day and still is for me, but now he has an exposure rate of 57%. And his projected ownership is only 23%. So really, really nice discount on that.
Yeah.
But Kessler Edwards, I mean, at 3,800, you probably end up playing him. You said that you thought that Olivier Maxence Prosper is going to probably soak up the ownership there at 4,500. I'm not so sure. I think that we already have quite a bit of ownership going to Nikola Jovic, and I think that is probably going to be another spot that people end up going. So I think because you have Kessler Edwards, Prosper, Jovic, Najee Marshall, some of these guys are more small forward eligible, but remember that center is really abundant on this slate. So I think that people are less inclined to go and play Jovic at center, and that he's probably going to be the one that people condition into power forward.
I think you're probably right about that. I am going to quickly, we have gotten several updates from an Unabated to their projection, so I am going to quickly download those again, and I'm going to re-upload them here in a second. What do you think of Chet Holmgren tonight? Do you think he's playable, or is he just on too much of a minutes limit? He's coming home to Minnesota, so I want to think last game before the All-Star break, maybe they'll let him play in his hometown a little bit more than usual, but maybe that's just wishful thinking. Do you have any interest in playing Chet Holmgren at presumably pretty low ownership here? Let's bring this back up. Chet Holmgren is, because he's power forward eligible, he's 7,300, projected for just 26 minutes. Tough matchup. It doesn't look like playable, but sub 1% ownership. I'm almost intrigued.
Tough ownership, coming back from injury, day before the All-Star break, and up against a tough defense that is already resting all their starters. I will pass.
I would say the one thing I would say is less tough defense with a lot of players out for Minnesota. So
sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass on that. As a Minnesota fan, if you want 2% or whatever and be 200% the field, then I commend you on that. I would like to pass on Chet in this spot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. Upload. Wait, what do I want to do here? I want to upload lineups. I'm gonna delete the old Unabated. Put in new ones. And then we'll get back to it. And I'm just going to kind of assume the I do have to select Trey Murphy. All right, do this real quick. They're usually right. Okay, I think we're good. Good. Okay. Let me bring this back to unabated projections. All right. So again, we're sorted by the top. Maybe I need to do this again. Point per dollar. I don't know if there's anybody else we need to talk about at power forward. Jalen Williams, any interest there?
Yeah, I could be interested in that. 7.8K. I'm fine with that. I don't think that he is like an incredible play, but I also think that you're going to have money to spend up. And as an upside guy, I don't think that that's the worst play that you could possibly make. I'm fine with that.
Keegan Murray. I mean, just based on the matchup, I assume you have some interest in Keegan Murray against the Pels.
I do. My models like him. Contest sims like him. I think that he's probably, if I'm going to go off the board or whatever, that would probably be where I would go. And when I say off the board, I mean not playing in Dallas or a Miami power forward, because everybody's going to do that.
All right, we got Javonte Green starting for the Pelicans, which I don't know that was the assumption being made. Sorry, wait, I'm trying to remember who the original assumption was. So it's the starters are Jose Alvarado, McCollum, Trey Murphy, Javonte Green, and Yves Missy. I feel like we probably had a different projection in there for the Javonte Green spot, but I'm blanking on who they would have had as the projected starter for the Pels.
I think that you can probably safely ignore him.
Javonte Green.
Yeah, he's not a great minutes, like fantasy point per minute producer. I typically I like the game environment. I'm fine with the game environment, but I do think that there is good value to be had at small forward and power forward from the Dallas Miami spot. And
Jesse's right.
If he ends up getting like 25 or something, I don't think that kills me on this slate. So I'm fine just not having him at all.
Yeah, I don't think he becomes like an awesome play. I think if he's low enough owned, like he's sort of interesting just because he's 3,800. But like I agree with you. Like he's like he's going to project for about 5x, I think, and that's his upside is
5x
probably
at 3,800 is like, I get it, but
I think he's fine if he's low enough owned because he's also like there is some like if it is a position that could just suck. Like there are not that many great options. So like 5x might be a 5x $3,800 player might be what you need at the position. So I would like if you're 150 max, I think it would be a mistake to have 0 probably, but I think you're right. He's not like doesn't become a huge priority or anything. All right. Anybody else we need to talk about? Or Aaron Wiggins has been kind of on fire, but only projected for 26 minutes here. All right, yeah, we're good. I'll sort by fantasy points real quick. Yeah, we talked about Naz Reid, Jalen Williams. Funny, Chet Holmgren is actually 4th in the list of projected by fantasy points. Interesting. All right, we're gonna move on to center. I'm gonna go back and sort by points per dollar again at the center position. Kel'el Ware. Somebody asked earlier if he was playable. That was before we knew that Bam is out. But Kel'el Ware now the best, the top projected point per dollar play at center by a good amount. He'll be chalky here. How do you feel about Kel'el Ware?
I think he's a great play. His rebounds have been incredible. He's probably a walking double-double today. 6,100. I think that his floor is probably something like 26 fantasy points. Like his floor is that he's not going to kill you. His ceiling is probably 45, 46 within reasonable expectations. So I think he's a really, really good play. I think there's a lot of centers though that you can play from. I think that Jovic is obviously a good play. I think Naz Reid is a really, really good play. Misi in that game environment is strong. Sengun is another guy who's strong. Like there's a lot of guys who are really strong here. So while I like Ware, I don't necessarily feel like I have to go there. I think there are guys in the similar pricing ranges. But he's a really, really strong play if you just want to start there.
Yeah, no, I think you probably like in a cash game, you're playing Kalel Ware. I think that goes kind of without saying. But yeah, in large field GPPs, have you run ownership projections? Do you have any idea how much ownership we're expecting? Like, I can look elsewhere also on the Kalel Ware ownership, but obviously we don't have it updated here. I'm seeing 30-ish%.
I see 52% for him.
Oh, 52%. Damn. Okay, that's quite a bit. Yeah, that's a spot where like you can just like bet on the that you can only play so many centers. You can just hope that a couple other players significantly outperform him at center. So yeah, I think you can get away from that a little bit. I think I would probably try to get less than 50% if he's going to be that high, but he's 6,100. Looks like a really strong play.
I do see him somewhere in like the 30% range other places, but I think that they're not accounting for like a center only eligible player that is going to play that. I just think people are going to gravitate towards that. So my model thinks he's going to be higher owned. If you want to split that and say 40%, I won't fight you about it. But even at 40%, that's significant.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Oh, sorry. Did I move my I don't think I moved my sidebar down. Nope, I still have it at small forwards and we're all the way to centers. My bad. All right. Luka Garza, which I don't know if they're making the assumption that he's going to start for Rudy Gobert. I'd be kind of surprised if he gets to start, but not shocked. They're only projecting for 19 minutes, but even at 19 minutes, he's better than a point per minute producer. How are we feeling about Luka Garza? Could spike minutes upside. I don't know.
He's fine. I typically don't play somebody who projects for less than 20 fantasy points. That's another like very high level, like just here's a rule of thumb, general heuristic. He's right on that edge. I think he's fine. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I would much, much, much rather play Ware or Jovic or Reed or Sengun. But if I have to punt this position, if I'm not utilizing the Miami and Dallas chalk, I think that he is a fine play.
Okay. Yeah. I think that is a general. I agree with that general heuristic. I feel like I kind of play the same way, where it's like if somebody is chalky because they're a strong point per dollar play and they're projected for sub 20 fantasy points, it's usually a good idea to get away from that chalk. I think I agree with you. I feel like I said that on my last show, and it was Jared Vanderbilt, and he ended up crushing in like 18 minutes, and it was super frustrating. But yeah, I think that's a generally good heuristic. Big Kappa says, where do I remember Neil from? From here? I don't know. He's probably watching on your channel. Maybe from Stochastic is probably where you remember me from. Or I also did a lot of shows with Blender. He could remember me from, I did like 40 episodes of the theory of DFS. I guess somebody who knows you might know me from that more than my Stochastic days. I'm not sure. All right. So what else do we like? So Kalel Ware, the pretty clear top point per dollar option. Jovic here. Yves Missy. We got Zion out, so Yves Missy could see some more minutes. He looks pretty good at 5,200. How do you feel about Zubac as a pay up option? I mean, he looks like a really strong point per dollar play at 7,600.
Yeah, I like Zubac. I have projected for about 39-ish. Pretty good point per dollar, like you said. Only 30 minutes, which is a little bit, not great, but he should, like in this matchup against Utah, this is kind of a matchup that a center like him should win. And just be able to gobble up rebounds. Utah's not a good rebounding team, so I like him. I think he's fine. It's good talk.
Yeah, I think we are on the same page there. Here's a name I want to throw at you. I want your opinion on Alperen Sengun. I think I like him tonight.
Alperen Sengun. Okay, I'm gonna remember how to say that for 35 seconds, and then I will never say it correctly again.
I want to hear, how do you normally say it?
Alperen Sengun. Which is close, but not the Shen, right? Like somebody's gonna fucking call me out on that. He's a good play at 8,500, and especially you have to have the point of reference of where you are spending on the slate. At 8,500, if I did not have a lot of value at other positions, he wouldn't really be attractive for me. But at 8,500, where we have all this value at other positions, where I can afford an $8,500 guy, I have a lot more interest. I also think that this matchup is a matchup that he can win. I have him projected really, really well. He's one of the higher upside players on this slate. I think he's probably quite a bit underpriced, actually, for what his upside actually is. My only quarrel with him is a low minutes projection. I only have him projected for about 30 minutes. Looks like you guys have 32 here on the screen. So I think he's a really, really good play. And again, it goes back to the minutes volatility stuff that we talked about earlier. Like it's important to understand that there's a lot of volatility here. He might play an extra shift at the end of the fourth quarter. He might not. But he's one of those fantasy point per minute guys where his ceiling is legitimately 55 or 60 fantasy points if he gets that extra shift. So that's what you got to look for.
I will admit I watched the Ship My Money show earlier. So even though I did not duck him, I did watch Adam's stream earlier because I wanted to hear what the fish were saying, obviously. And he pointed out that Şengün in matchups where all of the players are out for Houston. I'm trying to think. Tari Eason is out, trying to remember all of them. But he was saying that he had looked up and it was like 30. Şengün was playing like, let's see, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason. I think those are the two big ones. Fred VanVleet. Şengün played like 34, 35 minutes per game in those games. So he's being projected for quite a bit lower than that. I thought that was a strong point made by Adam, admittedly. So I do like Şengün as a player I'd like to get to. He is projected for 22% ownership here, which is higher than I thought it would be. I thought Şengün was going to be a little bit contrarian. Doesn't look like that is really the case. Anybody else?
He's going to get ownership because people can afford him.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he looks like he's probably going to be worth it. I actually only have him about 16%. So if that makes you feel a little bit better, that can help. That
does. 16. I mean, that's a little bit of a difference, 16 to 22%. Do you want to, should we play around, make one lineup here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Just one time before lock. We're just going to hand, what did I just do? Hang on. Did not mean to search draft. All right. Here's a single entry $5 tournament. That's a pretty small contest. Let's do it anyway. We'll do this one real quick. This is only a 600 person contest that we're entering here. But let's hand build a lineup. So who stands out to you at point guard? So or who are the first players into your lineup? I guess is the best better question.
Let's start with Jose Alvarado. I think he's the best player on the slate.
I like that. Yep. All right, so we got Alvarado in there at point guard.
You're going to go with Dinwiddie here at shooting guard, or Max Christie. I think those are our two options.
Yep, and actually, I'm going to sort by all positions. I'm just going to sort by these are the best point per dollar plays on the slate using unabated projections. So I think just putting Dinwiddie in there makes sense to me because we can also play Christie at small forward.
Right. Yep.
So do you want to play both?
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I'm looking at my optimal sheet right now, and one of the lineups starts Alvarado, Dinwiddie, and Max Christie. So I'm into that.
Beauty. All right, now power forward, we've noted is a little bit weak on this slate, but not. I mean, we have Prosper is there. We have Jovic. We have. Do you have a preference between those two, or
so actually, like? I think we should play Naz Reid here.
Oh yeah. You don't have to twist my arm to play Naz Reid. That's my guy. All right, Naz Reid. So even in a tough matchup, he's 7,100. No Rudy Gobert gets a little bump there. All right, so center, we could pay up here. We could pay up for Zubac, for Şengün. I think both are pretty strong options. Or we could put Kel'el Ware in there, just like the best point per dollar option. What do you think?
I think we go Kel'el Ware there. I think that makes sense. Yep. We're going to have, a 10 to 15% on Naz Reid, and this is a small field. So
good point.
Makes sense.
Do we want to try fitting somebody like Shai in here, or do we not need to do that?
I don't think that's necessary. I think that I would prefer to have, we have Alvarado on one side. Maybe we go Malik Monk on the other side.
Monk. Yep, I like that. A little bit of game correlation there.
Yeah.
We still have $69.50 per player with a forward spot and a utility spot remaining. Let me get back to let's see. The best point per dollar plays, just see if there's anybody that we're I mean, we've done a pretty good job of fitting the best point per dollar plays in here. I think we could still put in like a Prosper or a Jovic if we wanted to.
Yeah. Let's try to go with Jovic.
Okay. Jovic in here. Is he not? Oh, here he is. 5,300. So now we have 8,600 left for the utility spot. We can fit Amon Thompson, Alperen Şengün, Trey Murphy.
I think it's up between Trey Murphy and Şengün. Which one do you want?
I'm a Şengün guy. I think I don't know. Well, we've got one. Do we just have one from Sac and one from New Orleans? I mean, we do really like that game environment.
Yeah. Let's go Trey Murphy.
Okay, Trey Murphy there. Do we want to switch out Jovic for just to? I'm not saying we need to do this, but like switch out Jovic for. I thought there was somebody else that was 5,500. Thought there was another player that looked really good from Sacramento. Who am I? Murray, maybe.
Yeah, Keegan Murray. Yeah,
Keegan Murray. Where is he eligible?
5,300, I think. He's right there. Yeah, power forward.
Oh, so so we could put him in there instead of Jovic, but you just like it better like this?
I think that this is better from an ownership standpoint.
Okay.
Because it gives us less volatility and higher ownership for a smaller contest. So prefer that.
Agreed. Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense for a smaller contest. So the final lineup for this 600-person field that we made is Jose Alvarado, Spencer Dinwiddie, Max Christie, Naz Reid, Kalel Ware, Malik Monk, Nikola Jovic, and Trey Murphy III. I think that's pretty strong. I like that lineup. All right. So that does it, I think, for this show. And I again forgot to bring down the sidebar to the lineup portion. But regardless, we got there. James, this has been a lot of fun. Really appreciate you coming on the show. Do you want to shout out anything else from we pulled up? This is a free page that I already posted in chat. Your Paydirt NBA defensive efficiency matchup, something that everybody can check out if they want to. Anything else free at Paydirt that people can check out, or sell yourself if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, just go check out the site. Go to PaydirtDFS.com. Discord is free to join. There's daily and weekly passes if you just want to try some things out. Day pass is $5. So I'm doing a big push to try to make sure that people know that the site has a lot of really cool stuff. So this sheet is free, but if there's anything else that people want to see just on any given day, I'm happy to bring things out from the paywall so that people can try it out. There's a lot of really cool stuff on the site. So just go check out the site and let me know what you feel. Let me know what you feel.
And check out James on Twitter at Paydirt_DFS. Also, I'll also give one more plug to the sponsor, Unabated. Also, great tools at Unabated. You can find a discount in the description of this video, or just use promo code Flannel for, I think it's $10 off per week or month, whatever period you sign up for. It's going to be $10 off each. But I really do like them for. I don't do as much of the prop stuff unless I can find really good pick'em stuff, but they do have a really strong pick'em tool that I really enjoy. But I really also love their Discord, giving you updates whenever they update the projections, letting you know the reason for the update, that we got a new starting lineup, we got a player out, whatever the reason they update, and they keep you informed. They also are the fastest to get news out there of anybody out there. They're the fastest news tool out there. A lot of stuff that I really like at Unabated. So check that out if you are interested. You can obviously you can download under the props page. You can download their DFS projections as well for both DraftKings and FanDuel. Anyway, that is going to do it for this show. Really appreciate you, James, hanging out for the show. Really appreciate the rest of you hanging out with us. If you give us a like, subscribe to the channel, all of that very helpful as well. But appreciate you guys. Let's win some money tonight. Good luck.